Hi, Cathy. Thank you so much for joining us. Hope you had a safe trip.
Yes, I did. Very good.
We'll start with Annie Costable from the Sun-Times.
Hi, Cathy. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for your time. James just talked about this, but across the league, teams are playing with 8 and 9 players due to Olympic or national team commitments and injury and a slew of reasons. And they're signing players to hardship contracts and then being forced to cut players, etc. What's the solution to this that seems to be, a problem for teams playing with 8 and 9 players?
Yeah, we're obviously trying to work through a very unusual year with the Olympics having been postponed to this year, with 3x3 commitments, with other national team commitments, with I think some of those that are going to play now are trying to qualify for FIBA World Cup, which is in 2022. So, I mean, there's just a lot of things going on. I think COVID has affected a lot of that, putting qualifiers and things like that during the WNBA season. So I think it's unusual this year. And so we're obviously trying to be as flexible as we can on having teams sign hardship, keeping in all the rules under the collective bargaining agreement in mind. And on the injuries, unfortunately, it's part of the sport. We hate to see it. We're looking forward to seeing Candace back tonight, I think. I don't know if James just said that, but it's what I read on the plane on the way here. But obviously, always monitor injuries as well. And actually, that's not the main cause, I think, for all the roster adjustments that have to be made there. We're actually down versus this point in any other year. So, but we're constantly monitoring and taking a look at it and hope that we have, strong, healthy 11, 12, athlete rosters coming up soon. And obviously we'll have the players that aren't going to the Olympics will have a break when we break for the Olympics. And then obviously they'll come back and market, between mid-July and mid-August, they'll have a break. They'll be obviously come back before that for practices, training, and gearing up with protocols to tip off strong coming into the playoff time.
Got it. And then, this league has been a leader when it comes to professional leagues in terms of social justice initiatives and an emphasis on equity and inclusion and giving players a platform. But recently, the incident that took place here in Chicago with a ref, the league had no comment. And so I wonder if you're concerned with this sending mixed messages to fans and why the league chose not to issue a statement or provide more transparency on the situation.
No, again, I'm fairly new in the league. It's my understanding, and that's why we did what we did. We did a thorough investigation. I personally talked to James, others did as well, walked him through what our findings were. And again, we don't publicly comment on officiating discipline. So I think, again, it's important that we move forward. It's important that, we look at what happened here, make sure it doesn't happen in other situations. And that's what we've done. So again, it's just not something usually, we deal with the referees differently than, we would players or the teams.
Got you. Thank you.
Eric Wilson.
Commissioner Engelbert, I appreciate your time. Kind of following up with that, in this society, the way things are happening today, I'm curious as to, since I know that's not something that you typically do, would this not be an opportunity to kind of change that, to give more transparency to the fans and to the public with regards to, the referee used a demeaning and derogatory term against one of your general managers and head coaches, but it appeared as though the front office was silent about it.
Yeah, again, I mean, I have a long history in business and a long history of when and how you should support, whether it's a player, whether it's a coach, whether it's someone in the front or back office, anybody. Like a long history of diversity, equity, and inclusion and treating people right. And again, all I could say, Eric, is I appreciate the push here, but this is kind of standard practice, generally not to comment on officiating discipline. We did a thorough investigation. We talked to all the parties involved. Everyone was ready to move on after we completed the investigation, and I think everyone was satisfied that, and even look at, Coach Wade's comments. I mean, those stand for themselves. I think yesterday that I read in your press, around what Coach Wade said. I think we're all ready to move on. I think it is important to make sure, though, that we've had several incidents, and it's not just in sports, but in society, as you say, Eric, and there's no time like now where we have a very divisive society over a numerous amount of issues. And that's why I'm so proud of the WNBA players for stepping up, not just last year into this year, not just with the Social Justice Council, but they've always been doing it. And, I've been so impressed with the stances they've taken. But again, in my long history of dealing with issues like this, if you use your voice on everything, you lose your voice. So we pick the things that are important to the players, to the coaches, to the teams, and that's when we speak out. And that's why the Social Justice Council was launched last year as part of the WNBA justice movement. And we'll continue to work on health and equity, on LGBTQ+, focused on trans rights this year, focused on mental health within that health and equity, and focused lastly on civic and engagement voting rights. So that's the work that we chose, that the players chose, and that the coaches, the front and back offices, the owners, and the league are supporting. I call it player-led and league facilitated, and I think that's an important cultural moment for the league and the players working together.
Aside from that, I do want to ask about expansion, because there has been a lot of talk, especially the last season and into this season, about expansion. So what is the league doing to acquire new cities to where we can put more WNBA teams in and really 25 years grow this, so that in another 25 years, the evolution could say it started here?
Yeah, absolutely, Eric. Great question. And it's something I commented on in the lead into draft, the lead into the tip of the season, that if it weren't for the pandemic, we probably would be looking at, expansion much more aggressively right now. But as you can imagine, being out of the sports landscape in our arenas for a year, kind of coming back, seeing fans coming back slowly but surely, seeing protocols released as we get fully vaccinated for us, team and league. So we're very, very excited, to announce that we'll be essentially 99% vaccinated in our player population. So as all of that lifts, as we get back to the new normal, we will at this time next year definitely start talking expansion. We're doing some kind of behind the scenes evaluation of where women's basketball, professional basketball would succeed and in what markets where we're not today. But I agree with you. I mean, when I joined the league, I said, okay, 12 cities. And if you really want to have an impact nationally and then globally, we also have to look outside and look how to grow our fan base outside the United States as well. We're doing a really nice job with our 33 million fans here in the US, but we have to grow the game globally, and we have to find ways to do that. So Eric, this is a multi-dimensional transformation, that of which expansion is one element of, but we have a lot of other things we're trying to invest in. And I think the depth and breadth of this league is so great right now, which is why you saw, players that you otherwise think should be playing in the WNBA wave this year. So we're definitely thinking about it. We've got to continue to stick with our strategy, player first, stakeholder success, and fan experience. And that's where we're investing. And you'll definitely be hearing more in expansion next year at this time.
I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kevin Pelton from ESPN.
Hey, Commissioner. Two new head coaches this year in Noelle Quinn and Vicki Johnson, who are players in the league. How important is that to have former players represented on the sidelines at this stage of the WNBA's evolution, and for you at the league office to sort of support those efforts?
Yeah, I think this is something, we have a diversity and coaching initiative within the WNBA that we launched last year, coming off of the collective bargaining agreement, and knowing that we have former players that were starting to coach on the men's side. Let's get more of our former players in the WNBA. Also, Renee Montgomery just retired, became a part owner in the Dream, as well as an executive, and a real executive making real impact there, as well as coaches. But in my view, when you do a diversity initiative, it has to be across all the key roles at the teams and in the league. So front office, back office, coaching, and at the league level too. We're extremely diverse at the league level. So really proud of the teams that have driven that diversity. And as I have said many times, this is about building a pipeline of your future leaders, so that when the next time we have a head coaching role or a general manager role or a team president role, that you have a very diverse pool to pick from. So that's what our diversity initiatives are working on, building experience, building capability. So next person up would get a job when there's an opening. And so you have to do it sometimes 3 years in advance in order for when that opening comes, that person to be ready now.
Thanks.
No, Wilkes, we'll go to you.
How you doing? How you doing, Commissioner?
Hey, I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing good. I just want to ask you about the All-Star Game. You said there will be an All-Star Game. I just want to know, when will that take place? Will that take place during the Olympic break, like with some of the players who are not going to the Olympics, or how will that work this year?
Well, it's very timely. So within the next, 3-4 days or so, we'll be announcing all of the details and elements of the All-Star Game. Because of COVID protocols and things like that, we're still working on some final details and final arrangements, final contracts, but we're going to have, I think, a really great, given it's our 25th season, a really great look back at, those who were the legends of this league, and obviously then have an All-Star Game with our current star players. So more to come. There'll be engagement for the media, for the fans. So we're really excited about it, but give us another 3-4 days and we'll be announcing many of the elements of the, I think will be our 17th All-Star Game, because typically, just so you know, we don't usually have an All-Star Game in an Olympic year. And now this is an Olympic year, but it was supposed to be last year, and I did not want to go another year without an All-Star, because I think the players, it's important to them. And again, it's another opportunity for them to show their skill set, and especially with a lot of momentum coming into the Olympic break this year, and our USAB women's national team going for their 7th consecutive gold, and other players playing for their national team. So I think it'll be a really exciting moment for those All-Stars leading into the Olympic break. So more to come, couple days, give us.
Thank you.
Zachary Draves.
Hello, Commissioner. How are you?
Hi, Zach. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Given that this is the 25th season, anniversary season of the WNBA, I just kind of wanted to hear your thoughts on, what does it mean for you to be sitting as the commissioner during this monumental year, and just sort of reflecting on how far the league has come in terms of viewership and attraction.
Yeah, it's a great question, because, oftentimes when you're a business leader, you don't have time to stop and reflect on the history, the accomplishments, the legends on whose giant shoulders the current players stand, the leaders whose giant shoulders I stand on, like a Val Ackerman, who we have on our advisory council, our 25th anniversary advisory council. So much to celebrate, but we also wanted this year to be about capitalizing the momentum around women's sports. And I think what the WNBA accomplished last year and what the players accomplished last year has really set a standard for so many other sports leagues, male and female. So I couldn't be more proud to be sitting in this commissioner chair, but I have a great team around me. I think teams, we're all building, we're all transforming, we're trying to grow the game, we're trying to grow it with those 6 million young youth women and girls who are aged 8 to 18 who are playing the game today. Just so proud to be leading a growth story, really. And as a former business person and current commissioner, I mean, this is a huge momentum growth story, the WNBA and the players, and the product on the court is so excellent, as you've seen this year. And it's a very competitive league. There's a lot of parity this year. So it'll be a really interesting, and thank you to the media for telling our stories, because that's really important to our momentum and our coverage and our lift. And I really see a difference in the way we're being covered and the way the players' stories are being told this year from last year. And last year was so unusual. So thanks for sticking with us, and really look forward to capitalizing on all this momentum.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Zachary.
Takesha. 2 more questions.
Can you hear me? Hello, Cathy. Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, I can hear you now.
Oh, thank you for the time. I'm calling from Tokyo, Japan, and I'd like to ask you about your view on Asian market, especially the Far East region, including my country, Japan. As a player pool, I think it's great as a stage to empower the league to expand its influence and potentially maybe gaining some economic boost from our country. So what's your view on our market?
Yeah, you were breaking up a little bit, but I think I got the crux of the question being around the Asian market and its importance in growing the game and growing exposure and getting more fans, I guess, and also player development in those. And that's exactly what I was talking about when I talked about globalizing our game. I think the NBA has done an amazing job of globalizing their game. I think we need to really focus on it, and that's going to be something I'm focused on. What I call post-pandemic and post this season is how we bring our game more globally, including Asia, how we look at development of players in Asia and EMEA and other places, so that, again, if you looked at our draft this year, we had our number 2 pick, was not a United States player, it was from Finland. And I think I would love to have more Asian players in our league. And I would love to think about how we bring the game more to, Japan, China, India, everywhere where I know this game is hugely popular. And I'm told that the 3-on-3 basketball is the #1 most popular urban sport. Now that's going to be an Olympic sport this year. And the USA team will be represented by all WNBA players. They just qualified over in Austria. So, I agree, like there's a way to grow this game and there's a way to invest in, whether it's Asia or somewhere else in the world, in these role models that are the WNBA players, and having young youth girls see that you can play professional basketball. And I know right before the pandemic, I was meeting with, some folks in Asia around, growing the women's game there. But obviously the pandemic kind of put a halt to that. So I think it's important now to, to re-look at what we can do to, have these WNBA players can continue to be role models, but to grow the game globally, particularly in Asia.
Just one more quick follow-up. Do you have any plan or idea of the WNBA Japan game, like the NBA?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. I would love at some point, and it's not going to be probably next year, but maybe in 23, I would love to do a global games and look at places like Japan, certainly, to maybe bring a preseason game, hypothetically. So I think there's a lot of things we can think about. But again, we need to continue our transformation of the league. We need to look at things like adjacencies that we can invest in and grow the game, grow the fan base, invest in our digital platform, which, again, is under transformation as we speak. So, but this is definitely on the list. And I think, your idea of having kind of the global games idea that the NBA had is certainly something that we'd like to think about and then strategize about and see whether we could execute it in the next couple of years.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Last question for Cathy. Takesha. Oh, we just got you. Cheryl, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Hi, Commissioner. Good to see you making the rounds of the teams, albeit virtually for us. I'm glad you mentioned the digital platform. I mean, you inherited a website that was redesigned in 2015, and we've seen more emphasis on player stories, which is great with the videos and everything. But there are some nitty-gritty things that are still problematic for media trying to do jobs and for fans to keep up with, like statistics. And like yesterday, the box score for the one game wasn't available until halfway through the game. And today in the previews for the games, they have players on the wrong teams. So it's like if a fan goes to the website and they'll be like, why is Candace Dupree listed for Indiana? So I just wanted to know what your thoughts were as far as that being one of the priorities for the league when you're talking about moving forward and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so this is a top priority. I totally understand and empathize with how we have not taken the friction out like so many other apps that you're used to using, and we need to transform it. And one of the reasons I was hired was to come in, evaluate, look at a long-term plan to transform the fan experience digital. And so I totally agree with you. We have a lot of work to do. We did put some enhancements in for this year. Again, had we not hit the pandemic, I think we would have been further along. People often ask me, the pandemic really didn't affect you. You had a great season, your ratings were up. Oh, no. It affected our ability to invest in a variety of things, and digital is one of those, and the speed at which we need to transform that. So I totally agree with you. I am I am one of those who is a big user of our digital platform, and I'm constantly feeding in observations, I'll call them, and criticisms of our app, of our digital WNBA.com. So keep the feedback coming. This is, again, technology doesn't change in a day. So this is just something we have a roadmap on. And you can only, once you get in season, there's only so much you can disrupt because you don't want to take the whole system down. So my team is working as hard as they can, but we need to transform it much more quickly, and that's what we're working on. And people are working very hard, I assure you, behind the scenes. No one's doing nothing, but it's going to take some time before we fix a lot of the things that you're referring to. But I totally agree with you and empathize with how hard we make it, and we're going to make it easier. Just give us some time to transform it and invest and do it the right way too. You just don't want to put Band-Aids on things. And that's what we were doing for a while. So now we're just trying to really relook at the whole platform from, front to back and make as many changes as we could to get to the tip of the season, and then follow our roadmap for transforming the entire thing. So thank you. I appreciate the feedback, and keep it coming.
No, thank you for the comprehensive answer. Thanks.
Thank you, Cathy. Appreciate you. And thank you all for joining us.
Thank you all. Take care. Enjoy the game tonight.